Hey everybody, Michael Raso here, Film Photography Podcast, here today to talk about one of the most beloved 8mm movie cameras of the 20th century, and that is the Bell & Howell 134 camera, also marketed and sold as the Bell & Howell Sportster 8mm camera. This camera came highly recommended by friend and longtime 8mm shooter, Mr. Sam Sherman. He said, go out and get a Bell & Howell 134. The reason is, he said that most cameras, by the way, this camera takes no batteries whatsoever. It's a fully manual 8mm camera that takes what's known as double-8 film. He said, go get one of these because unlike other cameras, when you're shooting, when you're done at the end of your shooting cycle, which is you wind it, you shoot, and it runs out, it doesn't start slowing down. It stays consistent throughout the shooting. It just stops. It didn't start winding down. Let's do a quick overview, and then I will show you some footage I shot with the 134. As I mentioned, this camera takes what's known as double-8 film. The film is readily available at the Film Photography Project, filmphotographystore.com, and it is 16mm in width. The reason it's called double-8 and the reason the camera is called 8mm is because the camera shoots the film twice. Each time you run it through the camera, side one shoots 1/2 8mm of the film, and then when you're done with that half of the film, you flip it over, and then it shoots the other half of the film. It's brilliant. The other great thing about these cameras are that they're fully manual, no batteries, and most of them, even though made in like the year 1940, still work beautifully. Here's a quick overview of the camera. Now, this particular camera came with a 13mm standard lens. 13mm is equivalent to what a 50mm lens is to a 35mm still camera, so it's your standard lens. You can also purchase other Bell & Howell lenses for this camera. Here is your eyepiece. When looking through your camera, you're not actually looking through your lens. You're looking through what's known as a parallax. From the back of the camera, there's a little hole that you look through that gives you your viewer. The lens that came with this camera, f2.5, and goes all the way to f22, which is terrific. On the side of the camera, this is where you will wind your camera. Also on the front is your shutter button to start your camera motor. Pretty smooth. On the side of the camera, here is your frame counter. So before you begin shooting your actual roll of film, you will set this to S for start. And then below that, on this particular model, is the speed at which you're shooting. So the normal speed for regular 8 is 16 frames per second. 16 frames per second runs the motor at approximately 1/30th of a second. And this is important information because you will need to use a light meter app in order to figure out what f-stop to set on your camera. Okay, the relationship between the f-stops, the shutter speed, and the film ISO is what gives you your f-stop. So if you're using ISO 40 film and you're using a light meter app, you set your ISO to 40, you take your incident light meter reading, and then consult the light meter app and look right above 1/30th of a second, and there you will see what f-stop to shoot at. Sounds difficult? You'll master it lickety-split, no problem. On this side of the camera with the chart, you also have your camera door. The camera comes with usually a metal spool, and some of them have messages on it like film when on this spool is only half exposed, and it's trying to give you a hint that you need to shoot both sides of your film, and that this camera spool will remain with your camera when done shooting. It will, when you're done shooting your roll, this will be empty again. Let's see how. So I will take our roll of test film. Note that double 8 film. There are 2 sides to your film. One dull side, which is the emulsion light sensitive part, and the other side, which is the shiny base side. There's only one way to shoot this film, and that is the dull side facing the lens. So what I usually do is I take my roll of film. It comes on what's known as a daylight spool. You could take this film and load it in very dim light. And on the take-up spool, there's a little arrow. There are little hints of how to help out. So I put the film on the take-up spool a little bit. The dull side will be facing the lens. I will put the spool on my feed side. And then I will take the film and put it on my take-up side. The spool only goes on one way. Make sure the film is behind the gate of the film. If you want to test it before you close the door, you would put your finger on this little... See, what happens is when you close your door, it forces the gate closed. So if you want to test your film before the door is closed, just put your finger on that gate and roll some footage through, as I call it. It seems to be working very well. Let's close the door. Okay. We're now ready to shoot side 1. You may be enticed halfway through to open this door, but don't. Because if you open the door before your film is rolled out, you will flash your film and possibly lose some frames. So you will roll through side 1. And as you shoot, as you get to know your camera, you will notice the sounds it makes. And pretty soon, you will, if you listen really close, you will actually hear the film roll out. Also, keep your eye on the footage counter. So what you want to do when you're out of side 1, you want to remember to reset your film counter when doing side 2. I'll do that right now so I don't forget. And now it's time to flip the film. And you're literally flipping the film over to the other side so you could expose the second half of your film. Take out your camera spool, which is now loaded up with film. You flip it, as so. You take out your roll of film that you originally put in your camera. You flip it like so. You want to be careful. You don't want the film to get away from you. You don't want it to unravel off the spool, especially if you're new to filmmaking. Try to keep a grip on your film. Try to keep it under control. Don't get the film sweats, whatever you do. Okay, so now I have it on the flip side. I'm going to put my film. The great thing about these cameras, the film only goes on these posts a certain way. Never force it. Here's my take-up spool, which is side 2. Great. Let's see how I did. Once again, once your door is closed, you don't want to open it again while shooting. You will expose and flash your film. And reset your counter, which we did. And now you're ready to shoot side 2 of your film. That's really it. Once you start shooting with your camera, you will be a pro in no time at all. It's a great little camera. In the 21st century, certainly an oddity. Fresh film available at the Film Photography Project. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me, Michael at filmphotographyproject.com, or leave a comment below. And we'll see you next time. Hey, here is some footage I shot with this very camera.